Our opening words. In June of 2016, one of the greatest examples of gun violence in our country occurred. The massacre at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida, which took the lives of 49 people. The club was targeted specifically for its catering to the LGBT community. When accepting his Tony Award for Best Musical Score for honoring his Broadway smash, Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda read a sonnet he wrote honoring his love for his wife, as well as those that lost their lives in that horrific event which had occurred earlier in that year. His words were, "My wife's the reason everything gets done. She nudges me toward promise by degrees. She is a perfect symphony of one. Our son is her most beautiful reprise. We chase the melodies that seem to find us until they're finished songs and start to play. When senseless acts of tragedy remind us that nothing here is promised, not one day. This show is proof that history remembers we live through times when hate and fear seem stronger. We rise and fall and light from dying embers. Remembrance that hope and love live longer. And love is love, is love, is love, is love, is love, cannot be killed or swept aside. As sacred as a symphony, Eliza tells her story and fills the world with music, love, and pride.
Man, this past week has been such a challenge to my heart, to my very being. I am gripped with despair and fear, and I'm certain many of you feel the same way. This is a week that will clearly define what happens to this nation. Troops are being deployed, voices silenced, communities threatened with real violence. Some of us here feel massively less safe than we did just a week ago. Civil rights are eroding. Government officials are speaking awful and hateful slurs. I cannot give you answers, but I can hope. Hope that calmer rhetoric finds its ways to the public forum, that leaders hiding quietly in the corners of government will finally step up to guide us through this dark time. It is darker now than I can ever remember. I am hurting. I need this religious community now more than ever. And I know many of you share that with me. So can we just take a moment to breathe? I don't exactly remember when these thoughts first came to me. They are not entirely my own, but gathered along the way from some unknown source, some long-forgotten conversation or reading. I have searched for the original, but to no avail, and so I offer apologies to whomever or whatever community first named these truths. We Unitarian Universalists understand instinctively the importance of growing through the acceptance of people. Ours is a tradition that has, at its best moments, stood on the side of history where dignity, freedom, and inclusion were expanding. In 1863, Olympia Brown was ordained the first woman minister with full denominational support in America, and she was a Universalist. In the 1960s, when many faiths were still silent, Unitarian Universalists marched in Selma with Dr. King. In 1970, Reverend James Stoll came out publicly as gay at our General Assembly, sparking one of the earliest denominational conversations about LGBTQ ministry. And in 1996, our association formally affirmed that marriages of same-gender couples were equal in spirit and sacredness to all others. But that history does not mean we have always arrived at acceptance easily. Each of us in our own lives has to walk the same path from denial through rejection, through tolerance towards acceptance. And sometimes even beyond that. I know I have. When we first encounter something new, something that doesn't fit our old categories, the first impulse is often denial. You are not gay. You're just going through a phase. No, you can't be an atheist. How else did the world get created? There's no such thing as being trans. Stop dressing like a boy. We don't vote that way in this house. Denial is painful, especially for those who has entrusted us with their truth, only to have it dismissed out of hand. The next step is often rejection, which can lead to abandonment and isolation. If you believe that way, you cannot live in this home. If you think you're a woman, I cannot have you in my life. You are disfellowshipped, cut off from all of your family and your community. The outcomes of rejection are tragic. Poverty, depression, fear, self-loathing, hatred, resentment, anger, suicide. Some move beyond rejection into tolerance. Tolerance sounds like progress. I don't understand you, but I still love you. Just keep that part of yourself to yourself, that part of your life to yourself. Tolerance allows proximity while walling off intimacy. It is a place where microaggressions thrive, the subtle reminders that your truth is not fully welcome. Tolerance may be a step forward, but it's not enough. Then comes acceptance. Full acceptance means not just enduring the other, but welcoming them. I'm so happy you found her. I can't wait to meet her. Bring him home for dinner. Tell me about your journey. Acceptance allows us to show up as our full selves, and to be embraced as such. But let me take pause here for just a moment. Acceptance does not mean pretending all behavior is healthy or ignoring harm. There is a crucial difference between embracing someone's identity and enabling actions that cause genuine harm. If a child is exploring who they are, discovering their sexuality, their gender identity, their politics, their spirituality, that is not harm. That is flowering of the self and deserves to be met with love, curiosity, and support. But if a loved one is abusing drugs or stealing from family members or hurting themselves or others, that is different. That is harm. And love in those cases means accountability. Love means setting boundaries. Love means saying, we will help you heal, but we cannot allow you to continue to cause harm. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to distinguish between identity and injury, to stand fiercely for the dignity of identity, while also being honest about destructive behavior. The painful truth is that in some faith traditions teach that being queer or trans or even leaving a particular religion is itself harm. They genuinely believe that these identities doom a person to hell, and so they act from fear of losing their loved ones to evil. That teaching itself causes harm. It warps love into control. It makes people feel unsafe in their own skin. How do we respond to that? It's not easy. That path is a challenge we may never fully finish walking. This brings me to something the philosopher Karl Popper called the paradox of tolerance. He warned if a society extends unlimited tolerance even to those who are openly intolerant, those who seek to erase the dignity of others, then tolerance itself will be destroyed. So we must ask, is that what we're seeing today? Have we been too tolerant of intolerance? Have we allowed voices of hatred to fester in the name of freedom? Or have we sometimes been too strident with our own righteous indignation, so firm in our language of fascist or racist that we close the door to dialogue? Did we push opponents into echo chambers, now amplified by social media algorithms that thrive on rage and outrage? The truth is likely somewhere in between. We've seen it here in our own congregation. People of goodwill have raised real concerns, and yet those concerns were voiced or received led to resistance and pain and anger. And we are still mending from those words. The lesson: we must learn how to better communicate, to let people feel they have been heard, to respond with understanding instead of dismissal. Humans grow best not when we are shamed, but when we can relate. And part of our calling is to lead others towards deeper understanding without closing the door of relationship. In other words, tolerance cannot mean rolling over in the face of hate, but neither does love mean passivity. Love means loving even those who oppose you, reaching out with understanding, and yet holding firm to what is right. Acceptance, true acceptance, requires that we draw lines. We will not tolerate racism, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism, or any ideology that denies the worth and dignity of another. But at the same time, we must seek better ways to engage, to extend a hand to anyone willing to listen, but not at the expense of ourselves. Many of us have deeply rooted pain in our history that may bubble up when encountering others. Our levels of tolerance all vary from person to person, and what might be okay for someone else may not be for others. If you feel this, seek to get yourself out of such a place and ask for help if you need it. Be aware of others and look for that pain within them and be there to support it. Lin-Manuel Miranda said it best: love is love is love is love is love is love is love. And sometimes the hardest love is to love those who hate. But still we must. And so there is still one more step. Advocacy. Advocacy is about saying your identity is sacred, your dignity is not up for debate, your right to exist in safety and celebration will be defended, even from those who would deny it. Advocacy means moving beyond acceptance into action. It means not only welcoming someone's truth, but actively making space for it, protecting it, celebrating it. Advocacy is what builds rainbow sidewalks and Black history murals. Advocacy is what says your story belongs in the heart of our shared story. That is why it's so painful to see rainbow sidewalks painted over, murals scrubbed away, histories erased. Because those acts say you may exist, but you may not be celebrated. You may survive, but you may not thrive. And that is not enough. People's identities are not a political issue. Their very existence is sacred ground. The Pulse Memorial Sidewalk in Orlando is not a decoration. It is a living remembrance of lives cut short and a call to make sure love conquers hate. Reverend Teresa Soto reminds us all of us need all of us to make it. Reverend William G. Sinkford once said that our calling is to speak love to the world, and in so doing, to heal the brokenness around us. That is advocacy. And advocacy takes courage. It may be as small as a button on a jacket, or on a hat, or speaking truths through love through microphones at a drive-thru. Sherry, thank you for your continuing ministry. Or it could be as large as marching in the streets. It may be speaking up in a family conversation, or writing letters to lawmakers, or simply saying the words that bring a smile to someone who has been too long unseen. Advocacy sometimes means holy mischief, making buttons that spark laughter and joy, showing marginalized communities that they are seen, loved, and defended. Even if the words on the buttons give us pause and want to question appropriateness, seeing the joy in their faces when facing the dangers in this new world will be well worth it. The goal of this ministerial work should not be to recruit, but simply to show love. The arc of faith is not simply from denial to acceptance. The arc of faith bends towards advocacy. Because our faith does not call us merely to tolerate or even to accept. Our faith calls us to love. And love, when it's true, always moves us to action. May we be the people who take that next step. May we move beyond tolerance, beyond even acceptance, into advocacy. For LGBTQ siblings, for trans siblings, for all of those still waiting to be seen, may we be the advocates they need, the voices they deserve. And friends, who will not abandon them. Amen.
Our closing words are from Dr. Andrew Usher's Prayer After Silence. Though we stand apart, like instruments of diverse design, we quiver with the same music of belonging. And even as the rainbow flags do not wave in the same place, they share a sky of acceptance. May we stand tall and united, voices varied, but spirits aligned, as pillars of a community that embraces all, those who live with pride and those discovering it still, in this shared garden of queer flourishing and communal care. May our hearts beat with mutual love, held together in radical welcome.